G'day mate, Paul again here. Hope you're going alright in these really difficult times. Hey, I just want to try and do my bit to lift people's spirits a bit in all this trouble, but also just to reinforce what measures we should be taking and perhaps a few strategies to still live our lives as best as we can. Wow, what crazy times we're in right now, and it seems like crazier times are coming. As I said at the start, I want to try and lift people's spirits here a bit, so I won't dwell on the negatives too much, but I think it's wise to be aware of what we're facing. So let's have a quick look at that. But before I do, I just want to say that anything I say is just an attempt to reiterate and pass on what I think the experts and authorities are saying. And that's my main message here. There are so many theories and stories online about everything from hoaxes to conspiracies to cures, you name it, and it's not helping at all. So don't believe what I tell you, don't believe what other hacks on the internet or messages you're seeing being shared around on the internet. Hang on, am I a hack? Yeah, of course I am. In terms of medical knowledge or things like infectious disease expertise, I am most definitely a hack. Actually, I'm not even that. Okay, you might have read something a doctor said that is different from what the authorities are saying. They're not a hack, are they? Well, perhaps they're not. But doctors are humans, just like you and me, and have different opinions. So I'd recommend getting with the consensus of opinion in this. If the authorities where you live are doing their best to go with the consensus of experts, then that's your best bet. Look, I get all the theories about conspiracies and all that. You're welcome to believe those if you like. I'm not buying into them myself. But as a Christian, I probably believe in all sorts of things that the world thinks is weird, and I make no apologies for that. So consensus of opinion isn't always important to us Christians. What we think the Bible says is most important, for example. But in this medical emergency, consensus of expert opinion is our best way to fight this thing. So be very skeptical about any voices outside this. So if you want to believe in all sorts of conspiracies and how or why this terrible thing started, you have the right to do that. This virus could well be described as a terrible, evil, world-changing thing. So I understand those sentiments. And I guess you even have the right to, think this is overblown or some hoax if you want to believe that. But you do not have the right to share this particular belief in it being overblown, because if you're wrong, and I believe you are, then you're putting your community, your loved ones in risk in doing so. So believe it's a hoax or overblown if you like, but just remember you might be wrong, and the consequences of you being wrong are huge. So keep that belief to yourself. Ask Italy if you're not sure. So what times we live in. It's like we're living in one of those science fiction stories, isn't it? We don't want to lose our precious elderly, other vulnerable people. But the threat's real to all of us, of course, especially if our health systems are being overwhelmed and we can't get the care we might need. Then there's the economic ramifications already being felt, that are huge. People are losing their jobs. So the health emergency and then the economic emergency are the main things, of course. But to me, another third ramification that just breaks my heart, and it is the very essence of what it means to be human. We're social beings. I want to visit my elderly parents. I want to hug my grandchildren. I want to sit near my son if he's sick in bed and look after him and comfort him. I want to mix with friends, and I want to support local business, like cafes and cinemas. I want to be human, but our greatest weapon against this terrible virus currently is social isolation. And this is a terrible thing to be asked to do. But again, in the expert's opinion, this is less than the even more terrible cost of not doing it. It's that simple. No one is saying that not supporting a local business is not a terrible thing. No one is saying that you should be happy when you can't hug your grandson or granddaughter. These are terrible times. But there is hope, and I'm not even talking about that higher hope that I have as a Christian that I believe can overcome any worldly challenge. This hope I mean is that we only have to do this for a season. We don't know how long, but we do have to tragically put a lot of what it is to be human on hold for this season. It's very likely that a cure will be found for this virus. It could take up to a year, maybe more, according to the authorities. This hack has a feeling that the cure might be found a lot quicker, but what would I know? Hopefully I'm right, but So folks, social isolation. Limit your interactions with others. Do it for your mum, do it for your grandchild, do it for all of us. Even if you doubt how serious it is, just allow for the fact that you could be wrong. After all, you've been wrong before. I know you have. I know this because you're just like me. This social isolation obviously isn't, for people you live with, unless they're at some risk from certain exposures, or they're showing symptoms, for example. Again, be informed by the consensus of experts on how to practice social isolation. But err on the side of caution. We can and we will beat this. Okay, enough doom and gloom, sorry. What can we do to help get through this and not go crazy? Well, this depends on your situation, of course, but I've got 3 tips I think you can use to help you get through this. Look, before I get into these 3 tips, I do realise that these might just be superfluous pipe dreams to some out there who may be really burdened by this crisis. If you're a health worker, for example, my heart goes out to you. The biggest thing you might need right now is a night's sleep. You guys are heroes. These tips are mainly for us lucky ones who main concern is at the moment boredom and anxiety. Anyway, let's get on to it. Okay, tip 1. Now this depends on the individual, but limit how much media and commentary you're getting on this terrible thing that you're digesting every day. There's so much out there, isn't there? Don't do it so much that you aren't remaining informed, what you need to do and what you need to be aware of. Look, if you're not worried about this at all and you want to keep up and you can handle hearing all the tragic stories and watch the graphs curving upwards, that's great. But if you're like most of us, it can get you a bit down and it can raise the anxiety levels. You turn off the TV, stop browsing Facebook or whatever. Again, it's an individual thing. But if you just monitor things enough to remain informed as necessary, that's a great strategy, I think. But again, remain informed by the expert consensus, not by hacks like me. Tip 2, help and support each other. The main reason you do this, of course, is to actually help and support people, of course, and that's a good thing, right? But I'm actually talking about a more selfish reason for doing this. Not that it's possible to selfishly help others, of course. But let me explain. Research does show, I believe, that one great strategy for depression and anxiety is actually helping others. Isn't that awesome? Look, as mentioned, we may have limits imposed on our humanity and helping others, which is so tragic. But we can ring our loved ones, we can drop off provisions perhaps, we can give our time and our resources in so many ways still. We can share positive or accurate advice online. Just be there for each other. Alright, my 3rd tip. Well, I haven't even talked about my nature photography yet, but my 3rd and final tip for now involves that, of course. And this tip is to use the creativity within you. Now this might not be in photography, not everyone has a camera or even an interest. It might be in writing poetry or drawing, making things with your hands, cooking, anything creative. People who tell me they aren't creative never convince me. We are all creative. I believe we're designed this way. I've always had this strong belief that creativity is a great soother for our soul. So I encourage you to be creative. You don't know what you can do, well, be creative in being creative. In this information age with the internet, you can learn so much. Learn how to write a poem or a story or even a diary. Google how to throw a throw net in the backyard. What about recipes with limited ingredients? Learning that guitar that you've always wanted to, how to program a computer, contribute to Wikipedia articles in areas you have knowledge in. The possibilities are endless, really. Believe me, creativity is therapeutic. So in my case, nature photography isn't actually affected that much by social isolation. It's actually suited to it in some ways, isn't it? Well, I guess if we had a total lockdown and couldn't leave the house, then it would be harder. But I've got some great macro shots in the backyard. Insects and flowers, just dewdrops on the grass can be really nice to capture. And then share it with others and lift their spirits also. So if you're able to, where you are, get out into nature, out in the bush or out in the local park if allowed, or your backyard. Okay, you're in a big city in a block of units, you don't have a backyard. Take photos of your family, your pets, the moon or sunset from the balcony. Google how to take shots of water droplets landing in a pan. They can be really cool shots. I guess the main thing in all this is to keep your mind busy with healthy activity. We have to have some exposure to what is going on to be informed, I know, but limit this as you need to. You can do this. You're much stronger than you know. We all are. It's okay to feel some anxiety and depression about all this. Why wouldn't you? It's a very sad situation. It's pretty tough. But always remember these 2 things. You can only do your best, and your best is sufficient. Hey, just in closing, a quick update on how it is where I am. I'm really very fortunate where I am. We're relatively remote in the Northern Territory of Australia. I live on 5 acres in the rural area, about half an hour's drive from the capital city of Darwin, not a really big city. Our known cases of COVID-19 in Darwin, I think, went from 3 to 5 yesterday. But these are believed to be all travellers, who have been in isolation, and that there is no known community transmission at this stage. But we do expect it to take hold here, and even if it doesn't, I think it's best to expect it. I'm very concerned about the Aboriginal people in remote communities and in town here. A lot of them are elderly and have other health issues, so we need to be really vigilant for them. And the authorities here have the same concerns, and they're taking extra actions for this, so that's good. Actually, if you read your history about colonisation of Australia by Europeans, a great many Aboriginal people died from colds and flus, brought in inadvertently at the time. No one knows the exact figures, of course, but it was incredibly devastating. And there's a lesson in this for us, just as those Aboriginal people didn't have, that inbuilt immunity in the communities, just to the common cold and flu back then, and it's so deadly. We can draw parallels to all of us right now. There's no community immunity to the coronavirus, and that's why it's so devastating. That's why it's spreading so much. So yeah, we need to take it seriously. We really do. All right, guys. Yeah, take care, Stay in touch. Leave comments, ask questions. If you want me to help you work out something you can do creative in any way, let me know. I'll try. So yeah, guys. Just in closing, remain informed, but remain informed with that, that consensus of experts. Those authorities. That's your best bet. But most of all, keep believing, keep hoping, and keep loving. The greatest of these is love.